Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be looking at aliens and Christianity, two topics that don't often go together, but let's explore them. So if this is your kind of thing, feel free to grab a cup of coffee and enjoy the video. Okay, so I could ramble on for a half an hour, but that wouldn't be that entertaining now, would it? So instead, what I'm going to do is I am going to play a video by Dr. Hugh Ross, and we can share some thoughts on his comments. The reason being is Dr. Hugh Ross is really qualified to be talking about this particular subject, aliens and Christianity. Reason being, he is an astrophysicist, as well as the founder of a Christian organization called Reasons to Believe, where they try to reconcile modern day science with Christianity and the Bible.
Actually, a topic that I am very fascinated by. So with all of these recent UFO sightings, in your opinion, Dr. Ross, is there any validity to these?
Well, I think there is a validity to it. I mean, I wrote this book, Lights in the Sky and Little Green Men, with two of our colleagues here at Reasons to Believe on UFOs back in 2002. What's happening today is not just the United States, but several governments around the world has said they're going to release their classified documents on UFOs. But they've already released quite a lot. And I'm anticipating that the new releases are simply going to affirm what's already been released in the past. Namely, that there's millions of UFO sightings being reported, and most of them can be naturally explained, or military events, or they could be a hoax. But there's a 1% residual, and this is what's got the public fascinated. But what I've seen in my own experience of processing UFO reports is that where you got multiple observers on different sites, where you can actually triangulate the path of the UFO going through the atmosphere, there are times when they're recorded at moving at 18,000 miles per hour. But as these observers see them going through our atmosphere, they see no heat friction and no sonic boom.
Right.
And there's 2,000 instances where these things have been observed going through the atmosphere and crashing into the earth. And you go to the crash site, the ground is depressed. There's a shallow crater. If there's snow, the snow is melted. Vegetation is damaged. But when you investigate the site, there's no debris, there's no artifacts. If this was an actual physical craft, there would be debris that you could actually pick up. In this case, there's nothing. But you do see that something has happened.
Right.
There's something depressed the ground. Something melted the snow and damaged the vegetation.
Could it be a meteorite?
Well, if it's a meteorite, you're going to find bits and pieces of the meteor.
Okay.
And when a meteorite goes through the atmosphere, you see a bright glow. There's heat friction. And if the object is moving faster than the speed of sound, you're going to get a sonic boom. The fact that there's no sonic boom, no heat friction, and at the site there's nothing to recover tells us we're dealing with something that definitely is real, but it's not physical. These things violate the laws of physics.
Okay, so there Dr. Hugh Ross goes again, saying that because something violates our understanding of the laws of physics, it can't be physical. I would submit to you that our understanding of flight is quite primitive, simply because we've only been flying for about 100 years. Now, if Dr. Hugh Ross wants to say that such crafts are violating the laws of physics, sure, he can say that, but our understanding of physics, I think, is very, very limited in terms of what is the scope of all knowledge in physics out there. And if you compare that to what we currently know, I don't think we know that much. So I think it's a very arrogant attitude to say, based on our limited understanding right now, we can't explain it in a way that's actually physical. Therefore, let's jump to the supernatural. Let's jump to the spiritual. And that's what you are going to see Dr. Hugh Ross doing here.
And what's being revealed in the U.S. reports are naval pilots recording these UFOs moving at thousands of miles per hour and making sharp right-angle turns. A physical object can't do that. If you make that sharp right-angle turn, it's going to do damage to the craft, and any being on board would be destroyed if they're physical.
Oh.
So again, we're dealing with
That's based on the current technology that we have, and remember, we invented the plane just over 100 years ago.
Physical reality.
Right.
Now, when I was a graduate student at the University of Toronto, I briefly had as a professor Carl Sagan. He was extremely dismissive of UFOs, says they absolutely don't exist. There's nothing to them. But he had the worldview that there's nothing beyond physical reality. As a Christian, I believed in non-physical reality. So that explains why I take the UFO data seriously and why people like Carl Sagan do not. Because God created this universe. He created it from beyond space-time, matter, and energy. There is reality beyond the physical universe. And the Bible tells us that God created two distinct species of intelligent life. We human beings that are constrained by the laws of physics and the space-time dimensions of the universe, and angels that are not constrained by our physics and not constrained by the cosmic space-time dimensions. So what we document in this book is that we're dealing with an angelic phenomena. They are intelligent beings. They're coming to us from different dimensions. And I'm not alone in drawing that conclusion. I've known 6 physicists who, like me, have devoted more than 10 years to studying the UFO phenomena, where we all agree, as I say, we're dealing with a transdimensional or an interdimensional phenomena. And therefore, these are not beings from a distant planet. They're not beings like us. They're beings from beyond the universe itself that are coming into our realm. And this has always been with us. I mean, UFOs are not new. They've been around for thousands of years. What's interesting is they seem to keep pace with our technology. So 100 years ago, people were reporting UFOs as slow-moving dirigibles in the atmosphere. World War II, they were the Foo Fighters that were moving at 700 miles per hour.
Well, it does look like somebody has contradicted themselves. I'm not sure if you picked up on that, but I did. It was Dr. Hugh Ross just saying just a few minutes ago that these crafts are moving in such a way that violates our current understanding of the laws of physics. It violates the laws of physics. Therefore, it cannot be from another alien world. It has to be something spiritual. Now, that's what he just spent the first few minutes saying. Then he says that these UFOs keep up with our current technology level. Both of those statements can't be true. He just said that these crafts do insane things that violate the laws of physics. We don't violate those laws of physics. Therefore, these crafts are not keeping up with our technology. They are superior to our technology. So it looks like just listening to him, you can see that he has contradicted his own argument.
Per hour. Today, they're being reported at moving at 18,000 miles per hour. And then when people have messages from these so-called beings...
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Well, it was Alan Hynek, the American astrophysicist, who coined the terms close encounters. And what he meant by that is where you get less than 500 feet away from a UFO encounter. And a close encounter of the third kind is where there's communication going on from the UFO being and the human being. And they too have been changing their story over time. 100 years ago, the message was, we're from the backside of the moon. And by about 50 years ago, they said, well, people don't understand. Life's not possible on the backside of the moon. So they said they were from Venus. And when the lay public became aware of how hot it is in the surface of Venus, they said they were from Mars. Well, now their story is they're from a distant planetary system. So they keep changing their story. But I think what's most
I frankly don't see a problem with people changing their points of view as more information becomes available to them. I think that it's a very healthy thing to do. And I think that's how science is meant to work as well, which Dr. Hugh Ross should also know. So I don't understand him making fun of people for changing their views based on new information.
But I think what's most fascinating to me as an astrophysicist and as a Christian is there's actually documented cases where the UFO being puts the human being into a trance. And when they're in a trance, they do automatic writing. It's like they take dictation from the being. And probably the most famous example of that is the Urantia book. It's about 4,000 pages long, all messages communicated through this automatic writing, but about a third of the total content is denying the deity of Jesus Christ. So that's why we conclude there's a deceptive motivation behind these UFO beings. And moreover, when they do have close contact with humans, the effects are always deleterious. It's never beneficial. The best you're going to come away from in these encounters is recurring, terrifying nightmares. What's the worst case? You get killed by the incident. Many people have been injured. Some of you have been killed. So this is not a friendly encounter. They mean us harm, and they mean to deceive us, and they seem to have a motivation to spiritually deceive us. And that's also what's interesting about my fellow physicists. As far as I know, I'm the only Christian that's actually dedicated research onto this as a physicist. But the other 6 I mentioned, they all agree with me that we see here is a one-to-one correspondence with witchcraft, the occult, and demonology. And we talk about in this book, this is a testable scientific hypothesis. If you will close all the doors to occult activity in your life, that will be the end of your UFO encounters. On the other hand, if you begin pursuing the occult, these things are going to happen to you. And I went to Russia when the...
Okay, so Dr. Hugh Ross has finally reached the point of his whole argument, which is aliens and demons are the same thing. Now, that sounds wacky, because it is wacky. And the reason why Dr. Hugh Ross believes such a wacky thing is simply because he has no choice. So why does he not have any choice? Simply because in the story of Christianity at its very core, it is about humans falling into sin and Jesus redeeming us from that sin. Now, there's no room in that entire story for aliens. Aliens like we see in the show called Star Trek, where there are Klingons with their own view of the afterlife, and there are Vulcans as well who have their own views too. So if there are alien races out there with their own worldviews and things like that, then Christianity can't really be true, because there's no room in Christianity for such things. Therefore, Dr. Hugh Ross and others like him have to put aliens into a box that fits into Christianity, and in this case, the box that Dr. Hugh Ross picked was demons. Now, I hope that you don't have to do that. I hope that you can look at the evidence and that you can come up with your own conclusions as to how you think this all fits. And if I have to try to answer this, if I have to try at least, I would say something like, well, clearly there are alien crafts out there that are flying around. Now, I don't know if they are alien in the sense of from another planet, from our oceans, from who knows where, but chances are, if I had to guess, I would think that they are from another alien world, and that's a bit unnerving and also a bit exciting at the same time, because ultimately my whole hope for the future is that a show like, let's say, Star Trek is a glimpse into humanity's future, minus the World War III part. And with all that being said, thank you so much guys for watching the whole video. If you want me to make a part 2 on the rest of Dr. Hugh Ross's interview, feel free to let me know in the comments below. And I hope you have a great day. It is Sunday here. My name is Nigel. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of my videos. All the best and take care.